Far more than we think. Making Sense of Spirituality by Angelo. Chapter 41. Much Ado About Nothing. The next level up from being nice to people is to be of service to them. Many of us spend our busy lives rushing around trying to make ends meet and keep it all together. The multiple aspects of our lives compete for time and focus, keep us largely worrying about ourselves and those closest to us. The majority of us give relatively little thought or time to being of genuine service to others. Some of us work in service industries and can rightfully claim that we are being of service to people, but there's a huge difference in spiritual terms between doing a service job in order to make money and doing the job for the primary purpose of serving others. The spiritual person may receive financial reward as a result of helping others, but the reason for being of service in the first place has little to do with money. Dedicating time and energy to personal spiritual growth can be considered selfish by some because it does require giving priority to daily practice. In truth, though, the more we practice, the more selfless we become, and the more willing to be of service to others. What we do for ourselves in terms of spiritual growth, we ultimately do for others. There is also a tendency to believe that dedicating time and resource to helping others is a personal sacrifice of some sort. We privately admire such people, but at the same time, we focus the bulk of our time and energy on earning money and entertaining ourselves. Again, the truth is different, because being of service to others is good karma, so we eventually benefit. What we do for others, we ultimately do for ourselves. So spiritual practice is not selfish, and being of service is not a sacrifice. We help others by helping ourselves, and we help ourselves by helping others. This is the way spirituality works so positively within a like-minded community. The result is increased well-being for all concerned. Being of service to others is an act of unconditional love. The lack of conditionality means we expect nothing in return, and hence we have no attachment to any particular outcome. We may be rewarded, or we may not. We may be thanked and recognized, or we may not. But these outcomes are not important. When we give unconditional love, we know it will be returned to us one day in some way or another. Being of service without anyone ever knowing is exactly the same as being applauded and praised for our kindness. Any personal satisfaction that we receive from being praised for our good deeds is feeding our prideful ego. The spiritual person gives for no other reason other than the sheer joy of giving. This is done based on the sure knowledge that the giving of unconditional love will benefit everyone. Another benefit of service is that it takes the focus away from our own issues and problems and places it instead on helping others. Humble service is even better because it keeps our egos right-sized. None of us is any more or less important than anyone else. The ego mind does not like this idea, but the spirit embraces it as an absolute truth. Humble service is therefore a good way to move from ego to spirit and make progress along the spiritual path. Based on what we now know, it makes perfect sense that we should include some element of service in our schedule of spiritual practice. Life can be very busy, and it can be tempting to conclude that we don't have enough time to be able to commit to being of regular service. The truth is that time allocation is a matter of priority. We can choose to give priority to all manner of other things, and each of us will have our own ways of assessing which things are more important than others. My experience and observation, however, is that there is nothing more important than spiritual practice. Any individual element may not seem important, but the combined effect over a period of time is completely transformational. Once we get onto a solid footing of spiritual growth, all aspects of our lives seem to improve. I used to think that this was improbable and inexplicable, but my experience and my research have led me to some level of understanding. Today I have absolutely no doubt that spiritual practice underpins everything good in my life. Spiritual practice is at the very top of my priority list, and I make sure I have the time to do it, whatever else may be happening. Many of us spend most of our time chasing materialistic or emotional dreams on the expectation that achieving them will make us happy. We're most likely doomed to disappointment because either life will fall short of our expectations or we will achieve our dreams and then simply want more. True happiness lies within, and the key to unlocking the hidden treasure is spiritual growth. Being of service to others is an important component of spiritual practice, and we should ideally commit to doing what we can when we can. We are the ones who will ultimately benefit.